If it's Friday morning, it is the About Mansfield Consumer Advice Series. Good morning. Welcome back. I'm Steve Casillo, and today we're talking money. We're talking about your wealth. We're talking about your retirement, your nest egg, and so on and so on. And with us in the studio, he's right over here over my left shoulder, is Phillip Washington Jr. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me. Hey, we got to give them a disclaimer while we have the same shirts on as last week.
Yes. Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
I do have the same shirt. You still have the same shirt as last week because you and I never left the studio, did we?
We never. We've been here for the whole week.
You're actually on a field trip today with your youngest son, and so we recorded this last week on Friday, April 8th, and this is now being broadcast for its first time here on today. Oh, today.
I was gonna say we like built a time travel machine, like time travel to next week, and then did it. But I like your story is like actually the truth.
So today is actually Friday, April 15th. It's tax day. Did you file your taxes?
I hope so.
Yes. Or did your person file your taxes?
She handles it. Whatever needs to be done, I'm confident it's already gotten done.
Excellent. So I was going to ask you about your date night, but you haven't taken it yet.
It was amazing. Wonderful. We had a great time. My wife told me that she loves me. I'm the best guy ever, right? We had a great drinks, great cocktails, great food. It was all around a good experience. I'm claiming it.
Last week we talked about at least a real small part of what we talked about in the algorithms and financial advisors is having faith, patience, discipline, and imagination. And I wanted to at least take one of those, imagination, and really get into that. The biggest returns from solutions to big problems that most people don't see is because of their lack of imagination. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, and it's a good follow-up because you and I talk often about since I literally, me and my friends would like play Power. I'm a Power Ranger generation. We would like play Power Rangers, out and fight like fake people in our front yard. And
my favorite was the red one, by the way.
Oh, okay, yeah. Mine was the black one, probably for obvious reasons. He was the only black guy, but I liked all of them, right? So, and then high school, we were the generation when like wrestling went like mainstream, and so that requires. My dad used to always go, "Hey, Phillip, like this is fake, right?" I'm like, "Dad, listen, don't ruin it. You're overthinking it. Like, just we don't watch it with our brain. We watch it with our emotions, right? So just chill out with all that. Don't ruin it." So imagination has always, been a part of how I am, and so, it's critical in the investment world. And a lot of, I'll beat my head against the wall saying things like we talked about last week. I'll lay out how the past and the evolution and how podcasting is the future, or I'll lay out the past and say, people will say, how do I find good investments? And I'm always like, find a big problem people have, and then don't guess, look out and see what's solving that problem right now better than the alternative. And then, where's everybody ignore? And you'll often find that 99% of people are ignoring the solution. Right? I'll use Facebook as a perfect example.
All right.
Facebook, I think a couple of weeks ago or last month, sometime it dropped 23% in one day, and I obviously got text messages right from people because Facebook is a holding in one of the funds that we own. But I have some clients who I know who own it individually, and they were like, "Should we still keep Facebook?" And I was like, "Listen, what is a better advertising platform than Facebook?" Side note: you still have people that are advertising using phone books, billboards. Which billboards are like better than phone books. I think billboards are underrated.
Right.
Mailers. They're still spending money on stuff that doesn't work. And I'm like, Facebook is a company growing at 40% a year. It's still the best advertising product, for small business owners today, outside of somebody building their own brand using a podcast, which is more intimate and better, which we talked about last week. But Facebook is like, because with a podcast, you can combine advertising on Facebook and like really blow up. That's a whole other conversation. But
well, back when I was selling radio advertising to clients, when I was a broker, I also dabbled in placing advertising on billboards, but I only bought the new innovation, the digital billboard, because they're more eye-catching. Every time they switch to a new ad every 8 seconds. And that's eye-catching. People, when they first came out, people were actually slowing down to see what the next ad was.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, I want to be a part of that. And
you're like this. You remember our example last week? We talked about the horses.
Yeah.
The person who reimagined horses. This is why I like billboards, because we're moving into it, and this is why you got to have imagination. You think, where's the world going? Well, we're going to a world where we're not going to drive cars. We're going to be passive riders in cars that drive themselves. So when I'm in the car, right, I'm going to like be on my phone, and I'm probably also I'm going to be looking out the window more at things going on. So you're going to see more billboards. So I actually today would love billboards better than I did before driverless cars, because that attention is going to be underpriced, I believe, in a world we can look out the window a lot more and see more billboards. So that's an old new example of using imagination, where it's an old technology, and the majority of people are starting to discount it, but I could see it becoming a underpriced asset, over the next decade.
Going back, because I know you're a student of history, going back through years and years and decades of corporations, who were some of the innovators? Who were some of the corporations that used their imagination?
Yeah, so we'll use the example. Let me use one I haven't really used before, and let's use the people who did McDonald's. And I want to say McDonald's brothers, but they were not really the ones with the imagination. It was more Ray Kroc. He's the one of imagination. And he saw where the suburbs were going, right? Because going back in history, suburbs got built out because it got too expensive to live in the cities because of the 70s inflation. So we built out suburbs. And, with suburbs came, you were not able to build as many nice restaurant establishments as you had there. And then you had people who used cars more than just walked, right? Because in the city, you can walk around and get what you need. So you had to think, okay, we're going to live, work, and eat differently. So I got to imagine how that life is going to look. And so they came up with the idea of fast food drive-through restaurants. You can drive through and pick up your food. And so because they saw where it was going, they used their imagination. Because by the way, they couldn't look in the past and say, how was it done in the past? I mean, we didn't have suburbs. We weren't driving cars in masses, right? So McDonald's capitalized on top of that. So did Walmart. Walmart built all on top of that. A lot. Those are two really good executors of seeing where the world was going from an imagination standpoint and executing properly, at that time.
McDonald's.
And if you look back at the stock from the 80s and 90s, killed it.
Sure.
As the suburbs were getting built out. So did Walmart.
And people driving by, they kept an eye on, 50 million burgers served. 100 million burgers served. Now it just says billions and billions of burgers served.
And these are like less than mediocre tasting burgers. They're not even that great. And they made all this money on it.
In your opinion. The opinions of Phillip Washington Jr. are those of Phillip Washington Jr. and may not necessarily reflect.
Listen. If McDonald's listen, they know their burger. Their fries are like unhealthily tasty.
Yes.
Their business is amazing. But I'd be like, hey, if the CEO is here, I'm like, listen, I'm not throwing shade. I love the business, right? What you're good at is delivering food efficiently and effectively. But your burgers are not like great. That's what I would say. They know it.
If someone wanted to reach out to Phillip Washington Jr. and had more questions about your imagination or anything else having to do with the financial world, how can they reach Phillip Washington Jr.?
You're right, man. I know some McDonald's owners that'll be like, Phillip, why are you dogging our McDonald's burgers? so keep in mind, guys, I use the word not great, right? Which great in my mind that's date night.
Yeah.
They're not they're not bad, just not great, right? Actually, I did say sub. I did say sub average. Anyway, forgive me for he knows not what he does. I love you guys. You great business. So StonehillWealthManagement.com is the website. StonehillWealthManagement.com.
Phillip Washington Jr., Chief Investment Officer for Stonehill Wealth Management.com, and also, as indicated right behind his right shoulder, he is the host of the Wealth Building Made Simple podcast, which can be heard on every major platform and also on your website.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure. We'll see you next Friday.
See you next Friday. Thank you.